right, so we got Nicole Tipple on top or on bottom, not sure. Names looks like they're switched. And Perry Fang playing, I know Nicole is playing Izzet Prowess, so we got that. And Perry is playing Mono Red. All right. All right, so this is recording, so we'll not be able to get that adjusted, just a heads up. So we got Nicole with 2 gorgeous lands.
Yeah, they're fine.
Ah, how dare you, how dare you.
As a note, also, the life totals will be correct.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Bottom life, we see Nicole's camera, we see Nicole's life total.
They're my second favorite next to the other lands that John Avon does. I am just the largest John Avon fan when it comes to these landscape lands. So,
John Avon's great, but give me an invasion island.
Okay.
Not this full art stuff.
Wow. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Speaking of a lizard in the main deck, boom.
Wow.
Main deck lizard. The deck that won the Magic Online Challenge a few days ago. I think the most recent challenge was a mono red deck playing 4 main deck lizards. Really? Yep.
That is very wild to me, but it makes a lot of sense. In an Izzet world, mono red's got to adapt a little bit. So, yeah, really cool stuff here.
Yeah, it's an Izzet and an Omniscience world, so that's great there, too. So it's great against half the field, serviceable otherwise, and if it's bad, just pour it out.
Yeah. And, 4 Witchstalker Frenzies in this list as well. Here from Perry, so really, really cool stuff. Really innovative list. Only plays 3 lizard though, so.
Oh, all right.
Just said, you know what? 4th lizard, too much. Put that one on the sideboard.
You got to commit to the bit,
Yeah. I love it. So it looks like Nicole is stocking up. See what we can find here. And passes the turn back. When you're up against mono red, even when you're on the play, just stock up when you don't have anything on the battlefield. Does feel a little brutal, but when Nicole was able to have a removal spell on one, makes this a lot more manageable.
Yeah, honestly, stock up's obviously great. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think the stock up looks the worst from Izzet on turn 3.
Yeah.
When you are not getting that prowess trigger, you're not getting a Corey Steelcutter trigger. It's just it's a sigh of relief for your opponent typically.
I think the ideal kind of sequence from these Izzet decks is just turn 3, Corey Steelcutter, spell. Turn 4, stock up, spell. Even if you don't have a spell with your stock up, you just cast stock up, you find a 1-drop, and then you find something else. That's the play patterns that I've noticed, yield me the most wins when I'm playing Izzet. Which I did play a good amount of Izzet last night. I was like, let's see how much this deck has changed in the last few weeks. It's a pretty good deck, Jim. It's a pretty good deck, I must say.
It is very Phoenix and Pioneer-esque, where it's just so smooth. All the cards are so cheap. A lot of hand smoothing, a lot of card draw, a lot of game actions. And it can kill you really fast, too.
Yep. Oh, look at those beautiful otter tokens. Love it. Good job, Nicole. Taking some damage, taking 1 from the first lizard trigger, 3 in total, second from the second one. So a good chunk of damage here. And now we get in for 2.
Yeah, lizard does attack also. It's not an enchantment.
Yeah.
So that first 1 point of power is not great, but that 4 toughness makes it pretty hard to kill.
Yeah. Okay, so getting life totals adjusted here. And reminder, everyone, sorry about the name mix-up here. Life totals are accurate. So on the bottom, Nicole Tipple at 7. Up top, Perry Fang at 18. And the lizard goes back to hand. We got ourselves an opt. Ouch, take 1. Usually when you play opts in this Izzet deck, they essentially deal damage in the form of these prowess triggers that you're getting. It's not often that they would deal damage to you. Obviously, the lizard's not on the field now, but normally. Yeah, it's kind of backwards.
It adds up quick, too.
It really does.
It's not like, Idol on the Great Rebel where it's just like, a fixed amount.
Yeah.
It's 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So the bigger turn they want to have, the more damage they have to take.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my time with Underworld Breach, which was cut short far too soon. I hated that lizard. Hated it.
Yep.
It's way too good against that deck.
The big thing about the Lizard is that booty. 4 toughness is a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy card to kill, and typically being seen against these decks with damage-based removal, 4's hard. It's hard to kill, and you see Nicole here had to bounce it, which is not a permanent solution, not even a great solution, but just to kind of get a good turn going here.
Exactly. So Corey Steelcutter played as the second spell. Not necessarily ideal, but hey, what can you do? Here comes a good chunk of damage in. All right, and parry down to 10. And going to be heading back with parry able to animate the Soulstone Sanctuary at end step and be able to have a nice turn with an Emberheart Challenger. You got to think there's plenty of ways that parry can piece together a win this turn.
Yeah, a pretty big shields down moment for Nicole. I would not be surprised to see a Flood Maw or some other point of interaction. Otherwise, in pretty grievous danger. With the Lizard coming down also, so the threat being the more damage you take, less spells you could actually cast.
Yep. So let's see if Perry's able to get really aggressive here. Starting with the Lizard leads me to believe that, hey, we're not going to cast a Monstrous Rage after that, which that would be the card I'd be most afraid of from Nicole's side.
Yeah, sort of like a soft forcing of the action here for Perry.
Yep.
Nicole doesn't have to respond to this, but taking an extra point of damage would not be ideal. So Nicole gets to weigh the options here. You know, do I want to wait and deceive a little bit, or do I want to, you know, just kind of not take the point of damage?
Yep, absolutely. And here comes an attack for 5. And with absolutely no blockers or anything, that's pretty scary. 1 Burst Lightning and this game's over. Now there is only one, excuse me, there's the full 4 Burst Lightnings here from Perry, so we'll see if it's there.
The problem is that Nicole just can't cast 2 spells, not 2 non-creature spells.
Yeah.
So it can be a creature to trigger cutter number 2, but need to cobble together 10 damage through 2 blockers, a good amount of toughness, with not a lot to work with.
And only 1 red source, the Shivan Reef. You know, you can't cast double Monstrous Rage. I guess you couldn't do that anyways. But Swift Spear Monstrous Rage, not on the table, with only 1 red source that doesn't deal you damage. I see an Into the Flood Maw, though, there from Nicole. That opens the door. See, there is the Otter. I think, right? Oh, no, that's Drake.
Drake Catcher, yeah.
Yep, okay. And then there is Into the Flood Maw. Trigger the Corey Steelcutters. Nicole's going to go down to 1. And what do we bounce, Jim?
I mean, I would think the Lizard, if Nicole has another spell, you know, like...
Yeah. Or the land as it hits harder on the crackback.
Yeah, with Nicole at 1 now because of the Lizard damage, anything is lethal, so if this is going to be a reasonable attack, the board's getting kind of cluttery here.
Yep, so this is 5 2/2s coming in. That is not enough for lethal as it stands. I was going to say 1 opt would have been lethal, but with this Lizards in play, it's pretty clearly not in hand for Nicole. I think I saw Stock Up as the last card too. I'm not 100% sure, but...
If that's the case, this is a weird attack, right? Like, if it's not a lethal attack.
It would be.
And now just dead on the backswing to the 2 creatures.
Yep.
So a more tempered attack, leaving back a few blockers. So thumbs up here.
Yep. Now we'll see. It is the players that are controlling the life total down at the feature match. So, hey, maybe Perry's at 8. You know, like...
That would be a little bit different.
Yeah, that would make a little more sense. But I would agree. This is leaving Nicole dead on the crackback.
And there are...
Okay.
Yeah, so the only real thing there could have been like maybe a second Drake Catcher.
Yeah.
As the only spell that could be cast that would block. It's the only blue creature in the deck.
Yep.
But yeah, not there.
Not there. And game number 1 going to Perry Fang. So looking at Nicole Tipple's Izzet list, any big changes from this list? I feel like Sunspine Links as a 4 of isn't necessarily stock, but that is a lot. Oh, excuse me. They are flipped. This is gonna keep getting me. This is gonna keep getting me. So sorry about that. That makes a lot more sense coming from mono red. So Nicole's list up top. What are we sideboarding in here up against Perry?
A little more interaction.
'Kay.
You know, just abrade, removal spells. Fire Annihilation is the 5 damage exile spell, I believe. You know, which 5 damage spell these decks play is often up for debate, but
Yeah.
3 mana 5 damage. They all have minor upsides. That's really it. Yeah, Torch Tower, you know. Witness Protection is an interesting one. It is a 1-mana enchantment that turns a creature into a 1/1 with no abilities. That can be nice against Screaming Nemesis.
Yep.
There aren't many ways to remove that in the Izzet decks, but not too much happening here. Just a little you know, season to taste removal spells here or there. That's really it.
And just so many one-ofs there. I think there's, you know, any correlation between like a sideboard that has a bunch of one-ofs, you know, versus just a stock 4x of this, 4x of that, between like, you know, how amazing of a player they are. Like, I feel like the more one-ofs you see, the more maybe that these players deeply understand their deck and are more comfortable with this small amount of slots.
I think that's partially true, but there's
Yeah.
some causation also where like good players tend to play decks with a lot of cantrips in them,
Yeah.
and a lot of velocity, and those decks benefit from playing more one-ofs because
Yeah.
they get to see them more often. So I think there's a bit of both happening there.
Sure.
But this deck, you know, and the thing is with these one-ofs is that they're all similar. Disdainful Stroke and Negate are similar. You usually want them in the same spots, but not always. You know, Torch the Tower, you know, Fire Annihilation, more removal spells, whatever else it might be. You know, so they kind of do similar things, but having a variety pack with the cantrips gives you some flexibility.
Okay, and then from the other side, from Perry's side, what are we bringing in up against Izzet?
So Barrage is an interesting one where it is one of the few clean answers to Draycatcher, which is very good in these damage-based removal matchups. Doesn't have like a ton of targets otherwise.
Yeah, not really.
The kind of card that's nice to break serve if you are on the draw, but otherwise your removal spells here or there. Not trying to fight the Abrade fight, which I think is very, very reasonable. Just going to try and do the mono red thing and get him dead. So probably a few more kill spells, not too much else.
Okay, very reasonable. I do.
I'm sorry, and the 4th Lizard.
And the 4th Lizard.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
course.
come on, get that in immediately. Lizards are far too busted.
And we saw that game. Lizard was great. You
Yeah.
know, Lizard was a constant problem for Nicole. Lizard had to be answered, and then once it, you know, Nicole can't really answer it super well.
Yeah.
As far as just killing it, so you got to kind of bounce it and then like take your turn around it. You know, it's coming back next turn, so it is a very, very annoying card for these Izzet decks.
The most annoying card to deal with, that is for sure. So, Perry Fang on mono red going to be starting off the action here. Definitely what mono red wants to be doing. I do like the look of this new mono red deck. It looks solid, you know, because I feel like mono red just keeps falling in popularity, falling and falling, as it's just not as strong of a deck when Izzet keeps popping up. You know, it's not getting any new tools. So I like that it's getting restructured a bit, and it makes sense that the Lizard is just so good that it's worth the main deck slot in this metagame.
Yeah, this is format evolution in action.
Yep.
Which is great.
All right. So we have the talent coming down up against Heartfire Hero. Dang it, it got me again. Of course, Nicole is on the play.
Right.
All right, Heartfire Hero.
Being on the play, you know, it's kind of obvious to say, but really, really important in any Izzet or red versus the other matchup.
Yeah.
You know, Izzet versus red, red versus red. It just can't be understated in these Monsters Rage matchups how important going first is.
Yep, absolutely. Heartfire Hero coming in. And there's the Lizard.
It's Lizard time.
Oh, man. Let's see if the sideboard tech from Nicole, if we have a way to deal with the Lizard or maybe sidestep it, you know, start playing some aggressive threats instead of leaning into it. I want to say I think I saw Witness Protection, and there it is. That is a nice one.
Can I get a witness?
That's just a legitimate business Lizard.
Yep, no funny business here.
Yeah.
Suit and tie, just trying to go to work. Don't mind the tail.
Don't mind the, you know, shooting flames out of the Lizard's mouth here. It is now just a legitimate business person showing up for duty. Following it up with a sleight of hand. Takes a look at 2 lands. Gonna put that Verge into hand. And then get busy.
This is part of the evolution we see, you know, in these decks where, you know, the Izzet deck is, people are trying to solve the Izzet deck.
Yep.
And the Izzet deck has to kind of react and, all right, how am I going to resolve that problem? You know, Witness Protection, kind of a weird card. Very, very fringe player. Has seen minuscule amounts of play, but here it is. That's a pretty cool answer.
Yeah, I've seen that and like Unable to Scream. Like, you know, they're pretty similar, but why would we like one or the other?
So Unable to Scream removes creature type also, whereas Witness Protection does not. And these cards are important against demons because the sizing on the demon creatures are so large they can't really be removed.
Okay.
And then if your opponent has an Unholy Annex in play, you want the demon type off the card.
Ah, okay.
So protection is better there, but does leave a power in play so they can still attack you with it.
Okay.
So there are pluses and minuses to the cards.
That checks out to me for sure. Manifold Mouse was dealt with before we get to combat, so there's no triggering of the Heartfire Hero. That came with a cost though, right? Like Monstrous Rage there would have been slightly a blowout.
Yeah, it usually is.
Yeah, yeah. That's true most games of Magic here in Standard.
Probably the most common, you know, statement uttered is if they have Monstrous Rage here,
I'm dead.
I'm in big trouble.
Yes.
You know, kind of the Embercleave of our era.
It really is. It really is. Which one feels worse to lose to, Embercleave or Monstrous Rage?
I think Embercleave.
I think so too.
I think Rage is better, and Cleave requires more setup.
Yeah.
So it's just like, ugh, you got there. Also on Questing Beast with the Death Touch or whatever. Not cool.
Let's hope Embercleave is in the most recent set coming out as well. You know, let's get Embercleave and Monstrous Rage together and just really set the world on fire, you know?
There is an equipment theme in Final Fantasy, so.
I don't know if Embercleave fits, you know, the lore of Final Fantasy, but we'll see.
I mean, that Cloud guy is a big sword, right?
Yes.
Looks cleavy to me.
That Cloud guy. Love it. All right, here is Emberheart Challenger coming down. And everything getting in, even the legitimate business lizard.
Listen, you got to go to work somehow, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you got to walk.
All right. That is a large chunk of damage.
I like the untapping of the enchantment. Like, really keeping it legit.
Yeah.
Like, this is a proper board state. The enchantment doesn't actually tap. So, like, really staying in character.
Wait, I know artifacts equipped to it don't tap, but I thought enchantments do tap with it.
Nope.
Okay, I mean, it literally never matters, but...
There are some extreme corner case scenarios, but for the most part, it never matters. You're correct. So it's a common thing people do, but I like that it was tapped and then intentionally, I'm going to keep this guy legit. Nothing. This is fine. Nothing to see here. This is totally on the level.
I mean, it says the creature is a legitimate business person. A legitimate business person does things right.
Yep.
And looks like we are just taking this damage. Large chunk putting Nicole down to 10 life.
So kind of what I was saying about being in the play and stuff, part of that was what we see here once the boards get kind of big, is that neither deck really has a great way to like mop a board up.
Yeah.
Once a player starts to get ahead and the board gets kind of big, unless you could have some big backswing and really kind of race it, it's kind of hard to overcome. And Perry's board is starting to get out of control here.
And Nicole didn't use up her mana at all last turn, which is very brutal for these Izzet decks on turn 4. That's the turn they're supposed to stock up and get one other card, and that was not the case. We have an opt here. I think I saw Into the Floodmaw and 2 more lands in Nicole's hand, so nothing impressive by any means. So we're looking to pair this with, I mean, once again, at this stage of the game, I feel like you're always looking for stock up.
Yeah, any spell will do.
Yeah.
It feels like they'd have a never-ending stream of spells usually, but it can certainly happen where, 1 or 2 bricks and all of a sudden you can't hit that flurry trigger and things start to go south really fast from there.
Yep, very true. All right, let's see if this is Into the Floodmaw or if we found something else. It is Into the Floodmaw. Corey's Steelcutter is going to be triggered. And I think Nicole is debating, what am I going to bounce? All these creatures are cheap, and they fly back. And they have haste back, so able to get one of the hasty threats back to hand. And here's a big attack. This is an attack for 8, it looks like. Let's see. 1 spell is lethal. That's a spell.
I mean, we were just saying it, Embercleave time.
Uh-oh. Looks like Perry does have the interaction. And there it is. The frenzy to deal with that otter shrinks this down to 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, putting Perry down to 4. And then Perry has the ability to crack back and maybe piece together lethal here. So that was huge.
Yeah, and Nicole in a spot where you got to go for it.
Yep.
You know, you're down bit, kind of losing the race. There's a decent chance there that there is no answer and the game just ends.
Yep.
That didn't happen. Play on. We're probably in trouble now.
Yeah.
But I think definitely worth the shot.
And I think if Nicole had the option where she could have only sent 2 creatures, with this list having 4 Witchstalker Frenzies, she would have. But she needed every piece to be able to win that one.
For sure. And that's always so frustrating when your opponent plays around Frenzy.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why didn't you attack with everything? What do you?
Yeah.
Stop being smart.
Have you seen the attack all button? Use it.
Yeah.
Don't think just attack is what anyone with Witchstalker Frenzy in hand is saying.
Yep.
All right, here's the challenger. Now what I see is we got 4, 5, 6 damage, 7 damage on surface value if you pump the Hired Claw. That's not going to be enough, and if not everything's getting in there, you got to expect Perry does not have lethal. And here comes 4 damage.
So that's kind of cool where like the backdoor result of Nicole's attack is even though it didn't work, it did enough damage where it forces Perry to have lethal. If not, Perry needs to hang back.
Yep.
And now Nicole gets their shot at it.
All right, Nicole had no relevant cards in hand, though, so big draw step. Stock up, maybe?
That would be a good one.
Let's see.
Realistically, though, the cool part of this Izzet deck is it can kind of come from anywhere. One sleight of hand, into an opt, into this, into that. You know, it kind of can start chaining together. So
I think it was a Corey Steelcutter, which
is
is less than ideal. So if you can play that, equip to the Monk. Now you got 2 3-power Tramplers, and I'm seeing 3 damage instead of 4 if that's the case.
Yeah, and of course these mice will deal damage on the way out too.
Yeah.
So they are both blockers and then a bit of damage source. And the lizard and the other mouse should be able to finish it in that case.
And that's the problem with a card like Witness Protection instead of a way to remove lizard. Not that there is good ways to deal 4 damage to a creature, but this legitimate business lizard has made the difference in this game by either just sticking around, forcing a removal, doing a little bit extra damage, and I think Nicole is kind of running through what she can possibly do as well and decides to hold the Corey Steelcutter in hand, and now let's see if Perry can piece it together.
Now to be fair, we can see the hands. Perry cannot.
Yes.
So all Perry sees is Nicole with 2 or 3 cards in hand. Nicole, of course, a phenomenal player.
She's so good.
One of the rising stars in the Pro Tour, had a phenomenal start to her career in the last year. So you are staring down one of the top up-and-coming players in the game with 3 cards in hand. You know, puts you to the test.
Just a standard master. You know, she broke onto the Pro Tour scene with a solid. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but I think she lost at double winning in for a PT top 8 and then went and crushed the very next standard Pro Tour. So she knows her way around the standard format for sure. As well as limited, these Pro Tours are 2 formats. So
yeah, Nicole's been absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
You know, and this is kind of the Chris Moneymaker situation where it could be you. Nicole went to her first RC. Her goal is to win 1 match. She top 8 of the RC.
Yeah.
And there she's maybe only top 32, but cute with the Pro Tour.
Sure. Yeah.
And then on to the Pro Tour, lose some winning-ins.
Yeah.
On the train.
Absolutely. I remember she beat Ely Cassis in the last round to top 16. I want to say OTJ. And yeah, I talked to Ely after. I was just like, yeah, she beat me badly. And not too many people beat Ely badly in general, you know. So here is the attack. 1 damage dealt from the Hired Claw. And is this the classic? Okay, I can't beat anything. I'm going to block to just stay alive mode from Nicole. I mean, this is the spot where she's like, she looks and thinks about Monstrous Rage. She's like, LOL, I can never beat that card. If you have that, I'm dead.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is an attack all here would have been lethal.
What would have forced the other monk to block the legitimate business lizard, right?
Right. Lethal in the sense like it forces both blockers.
Sure. Yep.
So the fear of cards in hand, both either for reprisal next turn, be it a big hasted attack,
Yep.
or some kind of interaction, keeping things safe here. We got a tight one, though.
Okay. Looks like Perry must not have it. We have land, Corey Steelcutter. Let's see what the other card is. It was a Izzet Guildgate. Spire Bluff Canal off the top.
I was like, wait, what? That card is legal, right? It was in Foundations, like the starter kit.
Is it Guildgate? I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. Perry Fang takes this one down and advances to 5-0 here.